Hello YouTube and welcome to another Pre-Season 7 League of Legends Champion Guide. Today we are going to cover Support Janna.
The Tempest is at your command.
For more of my content, you can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/egamingtv or on Twitter at egaming_TV. Of course, you could also check out my website, egamingtv.com, and I am starting a new Discord as well if anybody would like to chat or just discuss anything League of Legends related. All of the links for my social medias and the timestamps for this guide will be down in the video description, so make sure you check that out. I do Riot Point giveaways at the end of every month on my Twitter, as well as a poll each night on which champion I should cover the next day. So, if you're interested in entering those Riot Point giveaways, or you want to vote on which champion guide should be next, make sure you head over to Twitter. But enough of that, let's hop into Janna's pros and cons. Janna is a support champion with very high movement speed and very strong peel. Her Q, W, and R can all be used to peel, which makes her a great pick with some of those immobile AD carries like Kog'Maw or Jinx. She then has very excellent disengage with her ultimate, which also does a large AoE heal and can sustain your team pretty well. Her shield, which is her E ability, is also then amazing for trades as it does obviously put on a shield, but also gives the target attack damage. Janna, however, is a rather squishy support champion and she does have very low damage output. You're going to have to rely on one of your carries carrying you, as do most supports out there, but you're able to help them do this with all the peeling you provide. You then have very limited poke. Sure, your Q can do some damage, but it is rather low and it's not spammable, and your ultimate can even save enemies if used improperly. For your Masteries, you'll want to go 18 Cunning and 12 Resolve, grabbing Windspeaker's Blessing as your Keystone Mastery. Not only will this mastery make your heals and shields 10% stronger, but they'll also give your allies some more armor and magic resist, which is pretty damn solid. Since you can use your shield rather often and your heal isn't AoE, it's very strong. For alternatives, honestly you don't have anything that comes even close, so it's best to just stick with this mastery page. For our runes, we'll want to go for armor reds, health yellows, scaling ability power blues, and ability power quins. Now this is the generic rune page I'll run almost all the time, but if I'm against a very hard AP support champion like a Brand, Zyra, or Sona, then you'll have to go for magic resist. I like to have two rune pages when I'm playing Janna, both this one if I'm against a rather easy lane, and then of course the magic resist one against those hard AP laners. If you can only afford to have one rune page on Janna though, then I would recommend going for magic resist because it will work in all situations. For my summoners, I like to take Exhaust and Flash 90 to 95% of the time, but Ignite is an okay alternative depending on the enemy team comp. So you'll first want to take Flash because you're a rather squishy support and it's great used defensively and can save your life multiple times in a single game. As Janna, you can also use it offensively by flashing forward and knocking an enemy back into your team with your Monsoon. You'll then usually want to take Exhaust to help peel for your AD carry. It's a must-have against really high damage champions like Xin Zhao, Vayne, Master Yi, Tryndamere, and of course others. You'll then want to take Ignite against heal-abusing champions if you don't already have one on your team, so of course stuff like Mundo and Swain, but if you are in the bot lane against Soraka, you may want to take it there also. Now let's kick off Janna's abilities with her passive, Tailwind. Janna grants 8% bonus movement speed to nearby allied champions moving towards her in a 1250 range. This ability has been nerfed over the years. It used to give just bonus movement speed to every single champion no matter what back in the day, but now it's just moving towards you in a smaller range. It's still a pretty decent ability though because it can help your team escape and kite as long as they are moving towards you. When you are running away from a champion, usually you'll be in front anyways because of the passive movement speed from your W, so this will in return give everybody bonus movement speed. Now let's move on to your Q, Howling Gale. Janna summons a whirlwind at her current location, which charges over the next 3 seconds. Its range, damage, and knockup duration increase for each second it's left charging. At the end of the duration or upon reactivation, the whirlwind launches itself in the target direction, dealing magic damage to all enemies it passes through and knocking them up for 0.5 seconds, increasing by 0.25 seconds for each second spent charging up to a maximum of 1.25 seconds. So it's a really strong ability, but you don't want to spam it too often because it does have a rather high mana cost. Therefore, there are two main ways of using this ability, and it's for engaging or disengaging. When you are engaging, you'll want to reactivate it rather soon and not let it charge for a long time because the enemy will see it and obviously run away. Of course, when you are running away, you can drop this behind you, and when the enemy is nearby, activate it and it will knock them all up, which will then increase your chances of escaping. Since this is a knockup, it also works really nice with Yasuo's ultimate, and it's great for stopping channeled abilities like Katarina's ultimate. Now let's move on to your W ability, Zephyr. For the passive, while Zephyr is not on cooldown, Janna is aided by a wind elemental who ghosts her and grants her bonus movement speed. When activated, Janna commands her wind elemental to attack the target enemy, dealing them magic damage and slowing them for 3 seconds by an amount capped at 80%. So both parts of this ability are amazing, but I really like the passive. All of that bonus movement speed is great for dodging skill shots in that lane phase, and your roams and warding will be even faster. Since you have all that bonus movement speed, it works great with the actual activate because you will be able to get onto enemy champions and slow them for your team to follow up. Keep in mind, when you are chasing that enemy, your team's also going to have increased movement speed because of your passive. This ability and your passive synergize very, very well. Now let's look at your last basic ability, your E, Eye of the Storm. Janna shields the target allied champion or herself for 5 seconds, granting her target bonus attack damage while the shield holds. At max rank, this is 40 AD plus 10% of her AP, which is pretty damn big. Eye of the Storm can be used on turrets as well, causing Janna to be credited for any kills it earns while the shield holds. So E is obviously the ability we have to max first because it's super strong in the lane phase. It will absorb a ton of damage throughout that lane phase, and the AD boost makes trading more efficient when used on your AD carry. When you are trying to protect a tower and you are by yourself, you can use this on that tower to grant it a shield so it doesn't go down as quickly. In teamfights, basically you're popping this on whoever you need to that's actually taking damage from the enemy team. I usually prioritize my AD carry, but if they're completely fine in the backline, then you'll want to use it on somebody else. Now we arrive at your ultimate, Monsoon. Janna knocks back all nearby enemies, stunning them for 0.5 seconds, and channels for 3 seconds, releasing soothing winds that heal nearby allies every half second while channeling. If you move or reactivate Monsoon, it is ended immediately. So this ability has a couple different uses, but its primary one is to disengage unfavorable teamfights and peel off sticky assassins off your AD carry or other teammates. Now you could use this ability just for its heal as well, but generally that's not something I do, but I have been in situations where I get through a team fight without actually using it, and then my team is really low and we want to take Baron, so I'll sustain them back up with this ability so we can actually kill Baron. Generally though, you'll be using it for either a peel or a fight reset. For your skill order, you'll want to take a point into your ultimate whenever you can at 6, 11, and 16. Then we focus on maxing our E first because it's by far our best ability in lane and can really increase our trading potential. Then we focus on maxing our W because the passive movement speed is really strong on Janna, and the slow from the activate is a great way to find picks. Then of course we save our Q for last, but we get one early point at level 2 just so we are able to either peel or stop channeled abilities. Warding is a very important part of playing a support, and these 3 locations here are the main ones you're going to be warding when you are in the lane phase. The number 1 ward will watch for ganks coming from river, the number 3 ward will watch for ganks coming from the bot side jungle, and then the number 2 ward will watch for pokes coming from the enemy champions, or of course those rocket grabs if you are against a blitzcrank. Since you can have 3 wards up with your sightstone, these are the 3 most warded locations. In the later stages of the game, warding gets a little bit more complicated because there's so much of the map you need to watch out for. Dragon and Baron wards, of course, which are circled here, are the most important ones because you need to know if the enemy team is trying to take down a quick Dragon or Baron. These can cost you the game, especially Baron. Some junglers like a Nocturne or a Zac can take really weird ganking paths, so you need to ward other bushes to watch where they're coming from, which is some of the boxes here. Generally, if there is a bush or there's multiple ways through a location, it is a viable ward spot. Now Janna pretty much works with every single AD carry out there, but now we're going to look at some of her best ones, and first up is Twitch. Now Twitch is a top 5 AD carry right now, and in the late game he can easily delete an entire team with his spray and pray and expunge, and then your Eye of the Storm just adds even more damage and a shield in case anybody hits him. Then of course if anybody gets near him, you have an absolute assload of peel and can protect him while he brings down the health of every enemy champion. He's not the most mobile champion out there, so peel for him and watch him kill the enemy. Now Vayne is another AD carry that requires a lot of protection early on, but you can still win trades when you're using Eye of the Storm on her. If somebody manages to get on top of her, you can then peel with either Howling Gale, Zephyr, or Monsoon. You have many different options to get that job done, and Vayne usually builds a lot of attack speed as well, which synergizes really good with the shield considering she can get off more attacks. Now let's look at 2 more, and first this time is Ashe. Ashe is another immobile champion that can make great use of the peels that you provide. Her mobility is her biggest con, and you provide the solution to it. Ashe's strength is definitely the crowd control she brings to a team fight, and you can use your Howling Gale to chain the crowd control for a pretty easy kill. So last here is Jinx, who is yet again another immobile AD carry that makes great use of all of your peels since her mobility is her biggest weakness. Your Eye of the Storm also works great with her switcheroo because her rockets will be doing a ton of damage from a rather long distance. Give her all the peel she needs and watch her rip through the enemy team. With Jinx's passive, just 1 kill can start an absolute shitstorm. In teamfights, your main job is to protect your AD carry, but it's also very important to stop channels with your abilities and reset the fight if it is needed. You'll first want to use your Eye of the Storm on either the person engaging or save it for somebody who gets on top of your carry. Of course, during the teamfight, use it on whoever's taking damage. You'll then want to use Howling Gale to stop channeled ultimates if there are any on the enemy team. If there is none, then use it to help peel enemies off of your allies. Your Monsoon should then be used immediately if an assassin gets on top of your AD carry. It's also great to blow away initiators, and the heal is a great way to regen the team's health if they do dip too low. Now we're going to look at some of her hardest matchups, and first up is Sona. Against Sona, you'll want to start with an Ancient Coin and get flat magic resist glyphs to help deal with all of her poke damage. If she lands a crescendo on you, you're basically dead, so stay at a decent range. Then try to block most of the poke from her Q ability with your Eye of the Storm, and ask for ganks if she is very pushed. Next is Blitzcrank, and you can start with either an Ancient Coin or a Spell Thief's Edge. Both are fine starts. If you feel like you're going to struggle at dodging his grabs, then go for flat magic resist, otherwise go for that ability power. Use your Zephyr to counter his speed boost and knock him up whenever he goes for a grab. Finally, hide in your minions and auto-attack him as much as possible to bring down his health. Now let's look at two more, and first up is Nami. Against a Nami, you can go either Ancient Coin or Spell Thief's Edge. Now this is a very hard matchup, so you need to be very careful. Any harass you or your AD carry land will usually just be healed up, and she does have some pretty good kill potential on you as long as she can land her Aqua Prison. Therefore, you have to dodge this ability as much as possible, and as long as you can, the lane is winnable, but still going to be very hard. So last here is Zyra, and against her, you'll want to start with an Ancient Coin and take flat magic resist glyphs. The damage she does as a support champion is pretty ridiculous. Never, ever face check bushes that you think she might be in, because if she's there, you are dead. If you can dodge your Grasping Roots, then you can usually go for an engage, but be very careful of the plants and keep in mind that her Deadly Spines will still hurt a lot. Alright, now for her item build, and we have two different starts. We could go for the Ancient Coin, a health potion and a warding totem, or the Spell Thief's Edge, warding totem and a health potion. Generally, I almost always go for the coin start myself, but some people do like extra ability power, so your shields and heals are just a little bit stronger, but it's up to you. Either way, for our core builds, we'll want to take our gold generating item, and then a redemption, and a locket. Now keep in mind, if you do go for a talisman or a Frost Queen's Claim, then you will have to get a ruby sightstone at some point, but you could get either Eye of the Oasis or Eye of the Watchers if you didn't like having a ruby sightstone, since this already has it built in, and you would of course save a slot. But either way, second, you'll want to get a redemption because it does have some nice health, regen, and cooldown reduction, but it also increases your shield and heal power, which is amazing on Janna. The active that comes down after 2.5 seconds is also very, very incredible and can heal or do a lot of damage in a clumped up team fight. The locket is also mandatory because the shield it provides is absolutely monstrous and it can block a ton of damage. For the boot options, we have Boots of Mobility if you want to roam around a lot more often, Ionian Boots if you do need 10% CDR, and Boots of Swiftness for all around mobility. Now for the item pool, if we didn't take one of the eye items, we do have to add a ruby sightstone into our build. Next we have the Ardent Censer, and it does stack with Redemption, and it does give plus shield and healing, which works great on Janna, and I get it almost all the time. Mikhail's is a really solid item as well, and it will allow you to remove a crowd control from your AD carry, which is pretty damn solid. Zeke's is a viable buy as well, but not one I pick up too often because stacking it to 100 if you're with a random AD carry can be pretty annoying sometimes. Frozen Heart's a great way to pick up some CDR as well, and it's good against very high AD teams if you do want to slow their attack speed. You could of course get a ZZ Rod as well if you did want to add some split push for your team, or you could get a Knight's Vow, but generally I only get this on a tanky support champion myself. So for our first full build, we take our Talisman core, get the Ionian Boots because we did need 10% more CDR, the Ruby Sightstone obviously, and an Ardent Censer. We'll have a great movement speed activate from our Talisman, some wards of course, the Redemption heal, a really strong AoE shield from the Locket, and all that plus shield and healing from the Redemption and the Ardent Censer. An extremely solid late game build. For full build number 2, we took the Eye of the Watchers as our core build, got those mobility boots because we'd already be CDR capped since we didn't have to get a Ruby Sightstone, and then got the Ardent Censer yet again, and a Mikhail's. So here of course you do lack that movement speed boost from the Talisman, but you did get a Mikhail's instead, and you are CDR capped, so you did get the Boots of Mobility. Pretty nice build as well. But that, ladies and gentlemen, covers everything I've got for Support Janna in Pre-Season 7. Don't forget to check out the video description below for my social media links. You can also go to my website, egamingtv.com, for a nicer list of my champion guides, and feel free to hop in Discord. I made it literally today, so there's not going to be too much traffic yet. But other than that, thank you guys a ton for watching the guide. If you guys did enjoy it, please thumb it up or subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next champion guide. Peace.